Hey, 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 good people. Ahyiana Angel here, checking in as your host of the Switch Pivot or Quit podcast. And today we're going to be speaking with Dr. LaNysha Adams. But before we get into Dr. LaNysha Adams and our conversation with her, just want to make sure that you know you're in the right place. The Switch Pivot or Quit podcast is all about change. That's what we talk about. That's what we work you through. And I hope that you are coming to this space with an open mind, ready to hear some things, learn some things, experience some things, and be challenged in some ways. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Dr. LaNysha Adams. Dr. LaNysha Adams, aka Dr. Adams, is a TEDx speaker, 10-time award-winning author, director of student wellness at Santa Fe Community College, and she also has an award-winning coaching and consulting firm. Her greatest accomplishment has been individually coaching nearly 100 graduate students to successfully complete their degrees. Dr. Adams, it is a pleasure to be speaking with you and be in your presence. Thank you for joining us on the Switch Pivot or Quit podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you.
Yay! Okay, so there's obviously a lot in your story that we can get into. But one of the first things I think I want to just kind of get your opinion on, if you could go back and give your pre-cardiac arrest self one piece of advice, could be career advice, could be life advice, what would that be?
Man, what comes to mind off the top is this idea of never outshining the master. You know, it's one from 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. But this law is easy to forget about. And I've been in situations where people who are in positions of authority and they think they have so much power, right? And I think if I could really integrate this understanding, a lot of times when I've had people in positions of authority over me, it would just help save me so much stress and grief dealing with them.
Okay, let's go into that a little bit because I think that is something that really does trip us up in the workplace. It's not something that's widely talked about, let's say, among your peers, among other mentors and different things like that when you are trying to grow in a professional environment. But
hmm
talk to us a little bit about maybe what was the catalyst to you having this sort of like moment where you realize, ooh, this is a bigger deal and plays a larger role than I thought maybe.
hmm I think it happened in small ways all throughout my 20s. I mean, when I was 21, I was in New York in a master's program at Columbia. So I was young, I didn't know all these dynamics, and from being from California is being different from being from New York. And I really came to a head for me like 8 years later. I was finishing my doctoral program here in New Mexico at the University of New Mexico. And one of the faculty members had been mentoring me, of her own words, and telling me, like, you need to, do things in this manner. And I want your research to be like this because I think you're so great and all this stuff, right? And one day I said to her, you having me do all this stuff, the PhD, the dissertation is just a glorified term paper, because that's what my dissertation chair was telling me, to kind of get the monkey off my back and not be worried about perfection and like all these things. I said that to her in passing. We got into a big argument about it
Wow.
because she did not agree.
Yeah.
I argued her down. It was on the phone, but I argued her down to my mistake, because 4 months later, it turns out she was the main faculty saying, no, I don't think she should pass. She can't pass the dissertation defense. She cannot pass, go collect her $200.
Wow.
And so that set me back a whole year. I couldn't graduate for a whole year as a consequence of trying to go toe to toe with this ego of somebody who's in a position of authority. And so that really helped me understand that, right? I knew about the law before because I read 48 Laws of Power, the 50th Law. He wrote a book with 50 Cent. That was like my favorite one. But I just really, I learned the hard way. And I don't think I'll forget it, because her
Mm-hmm.
ego, I think that person's ego was bigger than her humanity in that moment, right? Like
Yeah.
she was trying to teach me a lesson that she had learned. And there's something about that academic hazing, right, in the academia. But you see it in other contexts, in so many other contexts, in corporate.
Yeah.
If you the first and only in something, maybe there's another person who's the first and only and they want to do it to you. There's a lot to be said to unpack there.
Yeah. I think one of the key things too is there's a lot that we don't know when we come into these work environments about these unspoken rules and ways of behaving that we'll never know unless sometimes, yes, people try and give us a heads up and tell us, right? But experience is the best teacher. You get in those environments, you get in those situations, and that's when you start to have a lot of aha moments and a lot of realizations about things that you just would not know otherwise. So, that was a tough lesson, but it was like, as you were explaining it, I was thinking, I know where this is going. I know, because people, especially when they look at younger people, so if you're younger and you're listening to this, take heed. It is great to be smart. It is great to be informed. It is great to be knowledgeable. But some people don't want you to flex that on them. And when I use that word flex for a reason, right? Because there is a way to show your knowledge and your expertise, but then there's also another way. Right?
With your whole chest, I don't think you need to do it with your whole chest.
Not
I don't
your
think
whole
you need
chest.
to.
Not your,
You don't need to.
just a piece. Because you do it with your whole chest, and then you find out you what they say, you F around and find out.
5-0. We call it 5-0 in my office. We're like, don't 5-0. Don't 5-0.
I love a little 5-0. I love that. Okay, that's a new one for me. So, a first generation college grad, mother of two, now 10-time award winning author. Before you had this big life-changing moment in having a cardiac arrest, what did your career trajectory look like? Did you feel fulfilled?
So I would say I was trying to chart the path, right? So after this experience with the faculty member, I was like, I can't play with these people. And I tried, I did postdocs. I applied for jobs as a professor. From the time I was 13, I wanted to be a professor, like at the university.
Wow.
And after that experience, I was like, I don't think this is going to cut it.
Okay.
But I wasn't sure. I always had one foot teaching, one foot doing this. And then I had like 5 jobs, and always entrepreneurial in all of them. Mm-hmm. After I got the degree, I worked for the state legislature. I got married, moved to DC, got this fellowship in education doing policy work in the district, and then worked for like a state agency in the district. And then I was discouraged, and I said, I'm going to go out on my own as a consultant. The reason why I was discouraged was because I saw a lot of the problems that were being solved in the agency I worked for. Everything's outsourced to private entities. And they were really big fans of small businesses, women-owned small businesses, Black women-owned, vet-owned, Native American, like all the categories. And I was like, what is this small business stuff? And I started researching it. I said, I'm going to compete. I'm going to go switch to the other side because I could still do the work as a contractor. And so full-time entrepreneur, and that I did that for 8 years, and that was amazing, as a practice. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot. I got my first multi-million-dollar contract. I teamed with other small businesses. I just learned so much from that practice. But that was my career trajectory up until that life-changing event.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it sounds like you felt good about this change that you made moving into consultancy. It sounds like it was empowering in some ways.
It was amazing because so I did it a year before I had my kids, and I had a lot of autonomy, which is why I wanted to be a professor, right? I wanted to do research, do public speaking, write, work with people. And I was like, maybe I can create my own professorship, in my own practice. And so that's kind of what I did. And then when I had my son, This was before the pandemic. He was born in my older son, who was born in 2018. After 3 months, I got an au pair. One of my friends needed to leave the country, and then I inherited their au pair, and so signed up for this. But I would go to meetings. I had all these clients, and I would go to meetings, and I'd get a conference room. The au pair and my son would be in there, and then I never had to pump. Also, pumping wasn't like as what it is now. So even doing that would have been hard for me, but it was nice that I could have him there and I could go and like feed him and then pop out of the meeting, go feed him, clean up, and then go back into the meeting or whatever I needed to do. Yeah. And that was really like freeing. Imagine if I had an employer, I would have to request time or come up with some kind of agreement with HR to be able to exercise this right as a mom. I mean, I felt so privileged to have the capacity, right, to do that and still be generating revenue. And I'm married, and my husband was super supportive in me taking this huge risk because, I didn't have to worry about my salary paying our mortgage because until I got to that point, I needed some space, and I never had that in my life. So it was really great. And it was empowering in like the best of ways to be kind of on my own, but it was also burdensome as running your own business it can be tricky once you're getting employees.
Absolutely. How did you go about sort of building yourself up? And I'm saying building yourself up because I feel like whether we know it or not, there's this process of building ourselves up to start doing your own thing and to go out there and offer yourself as a consultant. How did that start to take shape for you? Did you consult other people? Were you taking on mentors? Did you already have them? Sort of, how did you start to prepare yourself?
I never had the mentors because, like I told you with that story, like this lady, she was my quote unquote mentor. I was like, I don't need no more of that. I'm good on that. I don't want a mentor. I'm okay. So I started looking for like free resources, and I found the Small Business Association has what's called the SCORE program, and you can get a mentor. They're free though, and they are like advisors, and you tell the coordinator exactly what you're working on. So I went from, working, my career started as a teacher, and then I worked in education at all the different levels. And so I was going into entrepreneurship for the first time, or so I thought. Babysitting, selling lemonade on back in the day. That was all my entrepreneurial days, but I didn't think of it until I started becoming an entrepreneur.
Right.
I was always on the grind. So I got this SCORE mentor, and my first one was like, how do you go from individual coaching and consulting one by one, and then go hit the contracts like at the universities. So I was doing dissertation coaching, and then she said, what if you call up a school and look at their data and like, let's see. And then they see they need help and talk to the department chair. I said, I'm just going to call them. I did that. That was my first $10,000 contract.
What? Okay, so take us back to that moment. What did you do? You Googled, you called, did you have a script prepared? What did you do?
I started looking at the school in the Midwest, and then I said, okay, their data isn't looking good for certain demographics. I'm going to call the department chair and be like, did you know, like, based on this data, it's through iPads, it's through like a national, research center through the Department of Ed. I was like, every institution has to report this information. So are you aware? Are you doing these analytics for your graduate students? So I call up the department chair. I get her on the phone. She's like, who are you? No, I didn't know that. And then I said, well, I do a lot of dissertation coaching, and I find that faculty, they don't know what their rates are. And like, maybe you guys aren't worried about like how much your students are actually graduating. They stop, but then they don't finish. But I said, this kind of completion rate is really important for your accreditation, which I also knew. And then once I started talking like that, they said, oh, we have accreditation coming up. Oh, we need to fix this. Oh, how are you going to solve the problem? I said, oh, I got a group coaching program. It's all online, but I could come there and, I could package it for this. And $10,000 is like a drop in the bucket for that school. I should have charged $50,000, but I didn't know. Right. I thought I could get somebody to write me a check for $10,000 by calling them on the phone. I never did sales. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that's the name of the game. So yeah, so that was, isn't that amazing? I was like, wow, and then I didn't have the confidence actually, but I did it anyway.
Right.
And then I got some no's like as I started getting better. And then I told one of my friends, she was at University of Pennsylvania, the business school.
Mm-hmm.
She said, oh, well, maybe you can offer us something. And she's like, you know, if it's less than this amount, we don't have to go through the procurement process. And that means somebody can just cut you a check. Mm-hmm. So once you start learning, well, what are those thresholds and what is this and what is that? You know, it really helped me become more savvy, which was wild. Like, it was like, I felt on top of the world, but scrambling because I was like, I don't know. I don't feel confident. I don't feel this. Now I'm like, dang, I was so confident to just do it. I don't know what I'm doing.
Isn't it funny when you look back and you think that you were so inexperienced and not confident, but then sometimes I look back at, for myself, I look back at the person that I was and some of the things that I was doing years ago, and I was like, no, but you really were very confident. Because today you probably would hesitate to do some of those things. Because knowledge can be an intimidator in some situations, right?
Yep.
The more you know, the more you have this potential to overthink. I feel like there is an advantage that we should take with naiveness when we don't know certain things.
I agree 1000%. I've been like journaling about this idea of like uncertainty and how we feel uncomfortable, you know, when we're feeling that. It's all these emotions, but then underneath that, it's like fertile ground for creativity and agency in a way that like, you don't even know what's going to happen. So what's the risk?
Yeah.
If you knew that you were going to fail, then you could be like, oh, I don't know. But you don't know. It could go either way. So you might as well just jump in 10 toes down and just go for it. I was like, wow, you know, uncertainty is kind of freeing because it's just uncomfortable, but it passes once you start moving. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel very much strongly about that.
Yeah, you do know. You do know. You've been through it, worked through it, and spent time with it, thinking about it. So you do know. And that's another thing. We don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes for the things that we do know from our life experience and that we're able to share with people. But you are definitely a sharer. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to your book in a minute. But I know people are probably thinking, okay, she just glazed over this whole cardiac arrest thing. So we gotta dive back into that a little bit, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but I know that obviously that is a pivotal point in your life. So talk to us about what happened.
Yeah, so I was at this pivotal moment, January 2022. I was finishing the book, but I had all these edits. My acquisitions editor came back and said, this trash, like, you got to change this. I wrote it like a PhD, you know, like it was all technical. I didn't have enough story. I needed to restructure, and it was a lot of work. Okay. And then I didn't agree with some of the advice, and I didn't know exactly also how I would move forward. Mm-hmm. So this one day I had 2 days to make this decision about my next step. So I was really nervous about it. And then I said, you know what? My husband was like, we're going to get some pizza. My baby was in the crib because I had my son June 2020. So he was like a year and some months. Mm-hmm. And he was taking a nap. My 3-year-old was right there.
Real quick, what was the decision that you had to make? That was giving you some angst?
Yeah, the decision I had to make was how was I going to restructure? Because I had 3 parts to a book, and the editor felt like it was too long and it was too messy. It's like you could write articles, you could do whatever with this 3rd part, get rid of it. So I had to decide if I was going to cut it down or totally cut it out. In the end, I ended up cutting it out, the 3rd part of the book. But I had written it, I had wrote it, you know, so I was really like in a crisis. I don't know what, you know, when you do something for the first time, you just be tripping. And then now I'm like, what's the deal? Like, I don't know. But at that moment, it was like really coming for me. And then I sat down on the couch to turn on some show. And then my husband had left. He went to go get the pizza. And then I sat down. And then the next thing I know, I wake up in the ICU 2 weeks later. Wow. Or 6 days later. I was in the ICU for 2 weeks, but I was in a coma for a week. And then I woke up and then had to learn how to walk and do all this stuff to get out of the hospital. And I don't know if you remember, but January 2022 was Omicron all over, the world. And that variant of the virus was getting people, and it got me, even though I was vaccinated. And the virus attacked my heart, and I had COVID pneumonia, and then it shut everything down. So I had a sudden cardiac arrest.
Wait a minute. So Omicron is what ultimately caused your cardiac arrest. Oh my. So this is not something familial history, something you were prepared for, had a heads up about. It just hit you.
Yep.
Wow.
The reason why I love your podcast so much is because it's like this pivoting piece, but we're really talking about threshold moments, like these moments when you're not fully in the past, but you not in the new one, and you in this weird transient third space, some people call it, but it's really a threshold moment. And I was in this threshold moment, and I think it's important for people to remember we're all at threshold moments at different points in our life. We on the edge of what was and what's next.
Yeah.
And when I was in that hospital, conscious, and then learning about what happened to me, it was like, well, what's next for me? I couldn't even think about the book. I was like, how do I walk? How do I get out of here? Yeah. And then how did I get in here? How did I survive? Because 1 in 10 people who have a sudden cardiac arrest outside of the hospital survive. So how did I make it? And it's because my husband came back. He was gone for less than 10 minutes to get that pizza. He came back. We had the same. He put the pizza on the stove. He walked past me to the kitchen, put the pizza on the stove. He was talking to me. I was non-responsive. My son was right by me, kind of like rubbing my head. And then he saw, I was like, lights out. The man is CPR certified, had never performed it on a human being.
Oh, God.
Puts me on the ground, starts chest compression, calls 911, starts chest compressions. And then within 15 minutes, he did it for 15 minutes. Oh. Then first responders came, and then they worked on me I know from the nosy neighbor, but they worked on me for 30 minutes. And then when they drove away lights out. So how do I know this? It's because the neighbor was watching from the window, and she told me the time point. So I have like 3 different perspectives of what happened. I was lights out. I don't know. I don't recall. I have no idea what happened.
Wow. Oh gosh. It's so important to be like trained in CPR and those techniques, especially when you have children, because you know what I mean? It happened to be you that he needed to use it on, but oh my God. Okay. And people don't even realize how much work and effort it takes to continue compressions for that amount of time.
To the beat of the rate of 120 seconds a minute is to the beat of ha, 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 staying alive. At that rate, that's the tempo you have to keep in order to like keep the heart pump, the blood pumping through the body. And he's CPR certified. He be training everybody now. It's kind of a crazy story. I'm also CPR certified. We pretty soon we're gonna start on our 7-year-old son. We're like, you can learn. Yep. We need to teach it to kids. It's such an important life skill.
Absolutely. I'm actually about to take a class and get certified shortly, very soon. So, wow.
That's awesome.
This is like this journey that you went on, complete twist, complete like monkey wrench in all of your plans. So now you have to learn everything again. How long was your recovery process, if you have an idea of what, because I know it was probably ongoing, but like, have you put a time frame to what that recovery process was?
Oh, yeah, because I was like, the only way I'm getting through is journaling and trying to think about, how do I make sense of it? Because at first, my mechanism for survival is like, just keep going, like boom, boom, boom. But when you're in the bed and you can't get up, and then they won't let you do anything. I had a bedpan in the hospital, and I didn't know to tell them, I need to go to the bathroom, like get this away from me, until a physical therapist said to me, you should be getting up. You're going to stay in this hospital. I was like, oh no, I got to get out. Well, how are you going to get out? The doctors have to clear you. All of them, neurology, cardiology, the primary care, like, cause all the systems went offline. Also, if you have a heart problem and they don't know the cause, you have to wear this device called the life vest. until you get a defibrillator or a pacemaker, which I have now. But that's a procedure, that's a surgery, and I didn't want to get it. It took 10 months because I was so afraid. I was
Yeah.
like, what if I don't wake up? Because they got to put that in your heart. They put a device to help modulate my heart.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then every 8 to 10 years, I got to get the battery replaced. It malfunctioned. Girl, I wasn't hooked to the Bluetooth 2 months ago. I had to go in there. It's crazy. It's like, it's a kind of a lot. So I when it happened, I was like, okay, I got to do all the therapies, physical therapy. They came to my house, and then I did cardiac rehab, which if somebody has a cardiac episode, the rehab is really important. So that took about 10 months. Do you know I'm like a miracle? Because I have straight up brain damage. Like I should medically. So there's nothing wrong neurologically, and then physically now the main thing I have is this heart condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, which just means my heart is damaged and it doesn't pump blood through the body like it should. But that's because the virus attacked my heart, and then I had damage and being brought back to this realm of consciousness. So I have to take medicine. I have to keep a low sodium diet. I don't work out. I can't lift weights like I used to, but I can walk. I can do other stuff. I can chase the kids if I be running out of breath, but I still be doing my thing. I still be trying to move. I still be dancing. I be listening to I was listening to salsa music this morning. I be out of breath, but I still do it though. I still do it.
You get your movement in. Yeah.
I'm not what I used to be, but I mean, hey, it just happened to me sooner than everybody else.
Right. But you're a miracle at the same time. Like, that is an amazing journey that you've been through. And I'm sure it changed so much of your life and what's important to you and how you're looking at things. Talk to me about that.
Okay. So the book, Decision, my husband not only saves my life, but he pushes everything. I had 2 virtual assistants. He pushes everything with the book. And then I was still within that calendar year. I published the book. The book came out in September 2022 initially.
Let me find out you're amazing. What was the book called and what was the book about?
Yeah, the book is called Me Power. And I started writing it as a way to really question this idea. Like I started talking about people in positions of authority think they have so much power over another human being. What kind of power you got over me? That's the question I was answering. Where does this idea come from? And is it our language, right? Because I studied applied linguistics. Is it embedded in the language? And then long story short, yes, it is. English, empower, the verb, the transitive verb, it means, so you're waiting around for someone to grant you the authority or right to do something. And so if it's from the inside, who am I waiting for, where and when and how? And so the first part of the book is really unpacking this idea and the misconceptions about power that we have. And a lot of people have because they're in positions of authority and they think that they have power over another human being. And I'm debunking that because I was really upset about that idea. The second part of the book now, after all the edits and after all the fights with the editor, is about, and it was good that those fights, that's how I won the 10 Book Awards, because it really resonates with readers. And that's really what they were trying to get me to understand and how to do. But if you're an academic, you don't write for your reader typically. You write for the research and idea. Yeah. So anyway, in the book, second part is about, how am I redefining empowerment? And then if I'm saying, me power is knowledge of self and principled action in these 5 key ways. What does that look like? What are some examples? What does the research say? So I do that in story form. And then at the end of each chapter of the 5 principles, I have questions that you can ask yourself to really help you activate more me power from within. And I really am trying to get people to change the way they think about this idea, because if you sitting around waiting for somebody to come help you try to get your power, it's not a good look. I mean, you're going to be waiting forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you are speaking my language. I actually, a few months ago, I've been having a lot going on, but a few months ago, I put together a talk that I want to start doing about, it's a similar idea in just that a lot of times we are waiting for someone else to tell us it's okay and to give us the permission. That's why we go and seek counsel from all these people. And it ties right back into what you're saying. It's just like we're looking for this authority. We're taught this ultimate authority is supposed to give you approval, and then you can do this, this, and that. But sometimes you have to give yourself that authority, and you have to say yes to yourself and just block out all the other BS, because people don't know what's best for you. You know what's best for you. And then if you try the thing, you do the thing, and it doesn't work, you have now learned, you have that firsthand experience like we were talking about at the top of the conversation, and now you can take that and run with it and use it in different ways versus just, I feel like it's also, we're intimidated and we're so fearful of everything, and that's how we were conditioned and taught to be. There's a rare person that just breaks out of the mold and is like, actually, I'm not afraid. Actually, I'm going to try the thing. Actually, I don't care who says what. But so many of us need to be taught. And we think that we don't need to be taught, but we really need to be taught and reconditioned that the only authority we need to be worried about is ourselves. As long as you're not killing somebody,
hurting someone,
hurting someone, give yourself the permission to say yes, to do the things. You give yourself, because like, we could be waiting forever. And depending on who you're surrounded around, you may never get that permission that you're looking for. If you are around the wrong people, or people who just are selfish, or whatever their reasons might be, you will never get that permission. How many times have you been in conversations with people and you're passing this new idea that you have by them, and they're giving you all the reasons it won't work, right? Telling you everything, but you feel convicted about it. Now you walk away from that conversation questioning your whole existence.
You're like, I don't even know if I should try. I don't know what's it. And that's why you have to be very careful, like, about who the guides you choose. I talk about this as a principle. Choose your guides, right? It could be a mentor, it could be a coach, it could be even free help. All help is not good help. I mean, people may not see where you're coming from or where you're trying to get to. Yeah. You want people who are going to amplify not your uncertainty and insecurity, but what the potentials are for you. It's so crucial. And the thing of, while we were talking about uncertainty and like all these things when you're pivoting and when you're having these threshold moments, the thing that reduces that feeling is connection and action, right? So you have to be connected, and none of this is done alone. I mean, I think I kind of imply it in all of the story that I've shared and all the things I've talked about. Yeah. But at every single point of this journey, it's like a whole army of people, my village, my family, my friends who are my family, and my community, holding it down. And then the medical professionals I've had to consult and work with and hold it down. When I was in the hospital, I had 16 nurses. I connected with all of them because they were the ones keeping me alive when I was in a coma, and then helping me, the ones helping me get out when I woke up. And I think about that like, wow, I didn't know what was next. But whenever I could connect with those people, the right people that I choose to connect with, then I felt like just a sense of peace, even though I did feel nervous and still uncertain. But you have to keep moving forward. You have to put one foot in front of the next, even when you have those feelings. I mean, I'm such a big believer in that, because what are we going to do? Just sit there? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I hope not.
And so I heard you say somewhere that you have to put the emphasis on starting with you and starting with the me element of things before the we element of things. How did that sort of come to you, and what does that mean to you?
I think I really learned the lesson, like self-care, everyone talks about, rest is revolutionary, all these things. But, we make concessions all the time on our rest and to like accomplish or go after, especially if you're the first and only as something in your family or in your work or whatever, right? And then we've been conditioned to like produce. So it was really when I was sitting in that hospital bed, I would read, the book. And I read it as a reader now because I'm down and out. I can't do nothing. I felt so disempowered. I mean, I really did. And I was like reading it. And as I was reading the book, I was like, it's great to have this idea of wanting to tap into community in a big way. Like, I want to be with common people for a unity, blah, blah, blah. But if you sick and if you can't get out of the bed, you have to contend with you first. And it really was like nail in the coffin for me on that point, because I was like, wow, I really have to figure this out. How am I going to get out of here? And it's not like you could just jump up and go. I had to get cleared. So it was like processing emotionally.
So talk to us about the work that you're doing now in this present moment.
So I pivoted in a huge way.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being a full-time entrepreneur, when we moved here, I couldn't work on the East Coast time. And my husband also works on East Coast time. Who's going to take our kids to school? It's a 2-hour time difference. So I found a position at the community college as the director of student wellness. And what better job, right, than to think about how am I going to embody wellness and like build it in the infrastructure kind of way at a college and provide non-academic support for people who really need it, people who are trying to change their life. Like when you go to the community college, we have people who are as young as 14 to 80 years old, right? And come in for various reasons. And each person is trying to do something to improve their life. So it's really beautiful. I get to run this center and like think about healthy produce for our food pantry, because the food pantry is under the wellness center, and like most food pantries is just shelf staple products. So rice, beans, canned goods, whatever. Well, we have a partnership with a greenhouse on site. So last year we got 500 pounds of produce, leafy greens, basil, and tomatoes. So what better than to pair that with some of that pasta we got, and some green chilies and other things, which is popular in New Mexico. But this year we got a grant to do like this food recovery. So we're getting the food that sells at the farmers market. After that market, the farmers, they can't move their produce, and they might have a lot, right? So we're gonna buy it and then of high quality, and then have it delivered, and then we'll redistribute it for free to the community.
That's amazing.
It's the same food at the farmer's market, but you getting it over here. And this could be like a really beautiful model. Absolutely. So I really love, the work I'm doing now. And then, I do that full time, and I have a team of 8 folks, and then we have like 10 student workers. And then I'm building Me Power, like these concepts into my practice of how I run my shop. And then I speak on the side, if I'll do a gig, if someone invites me to do a keynote, or I'll do a workshop locally. And it's been really beautiful having that mix. So that way I'm working at work while the kids are at school, and then I can go home, make dinner, hang out with them. And if I need to do something at night, I have the freedom to do it. I don't feel pressed. Most times I don't feel pressed.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Beautiful. It's such a different life than the one I had before.
Oh, yeah. I love this for you. It sounds like you're really operating in a space that feels good for you. And that's what's so important for us, is that it feels good. So if we're thinking about our listeners and people who are dropping in on this conversation, what advice would you give to them sitting in the seat that you're in right now, if they're trying to navigate transition? They're in that in-between spot, but they're just trying to find something to hang on to keep going, or figure out what their next step is. What advice would you give to them, or what would you share with them?
I'd say, identify that, what I'm calling threshold moment, right? You're in the middle of the thing. Identify it, and instead of rushing past it or pushing through, as we're so apt to do, pause yourself before life pauses you. You don't want to be like me and have everything on pause and you can't do nothing. You want to be in control of it. So if you pause on your own terms, you can name it, you can sit with it. It might feel uncomfortable, but I think the question I would have folks answer is like, what's one strength I can bring to this new season that I'm about to go into? Maybe I'm not there yet, but I'm going to get there. And it's really us using the strengths that we have that is going to carry us there eventually. And that I call embracing the barrier, So when you pause, you can look at that barrier, that thing in your way. It could be a feeling, it could be a person, it could be an experience, like, a medical thing, a physical experience. But look how beautiful, on the other side anyway, in the moment you don't think it's beautiful, but on the other side it's so beautiful because that barrier became a stepping stone. And it was important because it helped you get across this. It formed a bridge for the next thing, right? Whereas we're sitting in the in-between in this threshold. So I would say that, and I was moved to share that, but I feel like there's so much to be said about the pause, hitting the pause button, and just sitting with the things, the feelings, the uncertainty, the nervousness, all of it. Just be with it.
My therapist would always tell me too, like, observe it like it's in the room with you, right? She'd be like, and you don't have to own it, but you can name it. You can name the thing. Like, fear is in the room with me right now. Like, you can say that and acknowledge it and not have to own it. So and we don't take enough time to pause, right? We're always
go.
Yeah.
Go. You got stuff to do. You got to accomplish this. We don't got time to waste. You can rest when you dead. Well, I died and came back, and I can tell you, I want to be on this side right now. I want to be over here.
And do whatever you can to be on this side right now, not burning yourself out, running yourself to the ground. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. So what does success mean or look like for you now?
Yeah, success is more like, before it was like, okay, I got to do this, do that. I remember, look at my life. Like, oh, I get a book. Now I got to get the awards. Now I got to do the TEDx. Now I got to do, it's so funny. Like, I have such a natural, it's not natural. It's just my, what they psychologically call ego fixation, but it's just like my way, like how I've been conditioned and how people have seen, I've gotten so many accolades from being like that. And also society and capitalism is supportive of that.
Yes.
So, right. But so now success for me looks like this. This morning, I made this green smoothie. Where is it? I was hiding it over here, and I'm almost done. I made it. It has, and I chopped up all the things, the carrots, the different colored carrots, spinach. What else did I have in there? Apple. Apple. I had a banana, like part of a banana, ginger, and I put some turmeric and cinnamon. And an emergency packet because I was like, you ain't gonna get me. School just started back for my kids. I don't want to get got. So I put that in there. And then, like, to me, that's success. Like, I started my day. I had the coffee, right? I had water. I took my medicine, and then I made that. And that's like love because I stood there and chopped all those vegetables. I did them in bulk so I could freeze some and then do it, every day this week. But me drinking drinking this is success for me, right? The process of doing it is success. The fact that I could get up out of the bed and have the money to buy the thing and then to be able to physically do it, that is success for me. Yeah. And so I won today. I could do nothing else and I feel like I won. Success also looks like now I have dependents, like it looks like how do I help my children feel confident as young people? They're 5 and 7, they're boys. And how do I help them feel confident? And like I was trying to teach them structure, like, oh, you got to lay your clothes out the night before. Cause that's what I learned. That's what I had to do every night. And they had to iron my clothes and everything. These kids look janky, was wrinkled up. But it's like, put your clothes out. So my youngest son doesn't want to do it. He's like, I'm going to put my clothes on the night before. So instead of pajamas, he's like, I don't want pajamas. I want to put but I saw this on TikTok. This mom was trying to get her kid to do it and the kid was fighting her. And I was like, was he watching TikTok? I was like, where did he get this idea? I'm like, so he's wearing his clothes. So instead of putting them out, he wearing the clothes to bed. So he wakes up in the morning. He came in my room this morning at 6 o'clock talking about, look, I'm dressed. I'm dressed already. My brother has to get dressed. I was like, wow, okay, that's what you're about. Great. It's very efficient. I'm not mad at him. I'm like, you gonna win in life. You looking for the
He's thinking like an adult who has to catch an early morning flight. I've definitely done that before. Be like, you know what? I have 3 hours of sleep. I might as well just put this little sweatsuit on and sleep with this sweatsuit so I can just get up and go. He's got the right mindset already.
1000%. And so like success also translates to them. And also like, how do I help them be what I would want one day, self-sufficient people by the time they are 18, because that's the programming. But, we can push it to 20 if they're going to go to college. I don't know what these people are going to do, but I really, I really don't. But I really want that for them. I really want them to be able one day to wipe their own butt.
Yeah.
Well, like they 5 and 7, right? I still remember changing the diapers. So it's very hard. I'm in this like funny, like we trying to get you to be, you can make your own sandwich one day and without making a mess everywhere. And you could do this. And I see them, they feel so much more confident. But you know why? It's because they exercising and they're exemplifying the power within. They're like, I could do this. See, look what I could do. And I want them to do that to the best of their ability, the best of them, right? Whatever that means for them over time.
And you're giving them the space to do it too. So that's beautiful. Because somebody else, an old school parent, would have been like, you are not getting into bed with them dang clothes on. Like, no, not having it.
You have to wear your pajamas.
Yeah, let you try out a thing. I don't know how comfortable this is going to be from night to night, depending on what you decide to wear the next day. But hey, let's just let you try out a thing. You're giving them that space. So I love that. Your version of success feels so good. It feels so practical. It feels so relatable. So much of our conditioning is tied to the big achievements, but you've already accomplished a lot of those big achievements. So now it's not about that for you. And I love that.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. It's beautiful that you said that because one of my staff, they are a couple of them, actually 3 of them, they're still in school and they've lived like a full life, but then they decide they want to go back to school and get their degrees. And I did it on the front end, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I have a different lens now at this point, but when you're on the ascent, and I know some of the listeners might be on that ascent, like trying to go after the thing, because that's so important in our culture and in capitalism, no matter where you are in the world, actually, for you to showcase what you can do by accomplishing whatever. But I would say, even if you're in that mode, try to focus it on something that's significant and meaningful to you. Not just do it because it's, I'm going to be this because it pays well, or I'm going to do this because I was told I have to, or do it because it's really meaningful to you. And I think it goes beyond the thing itself and also beyond the role itself that you're going to occupy. And even before I got to this place where I'm at, not trying to focus on the ascent, I really did that in practice. Like, I wanted to study applied linguistics because I have such a deep love of language. What little black girl, at 13 is like, I want to be a linguist.
Right.
There were no linguists. I mean, they were all old and white. Like, and so then, over time, I'm like, okay, well, I don't see myself over here. What am I going to do? And I think it's so beautiful that, I really was just focused on the things that I really love, the things that light me up. Because when I have to write a paper, when I have to do something that requires me to sacrifice sleep, I want to be doing it and enjoying it also.
Yeah. And
so I really, I would really say, like, for people in different phases, I think that's really important. Tap into what's most meaningful for you, because that's what's going to sustain you over time. Because at any moment we can all pivot, and at any moment we can be pivoted. I will say that also.
That's a word, okay?
So you don't want that. You don't want that. But sometimes we can't do anything to prevent it, and we still we have to have the mindset. I think that of the things that you're teaching, especially in this platform, like, we can still keep moving forward. And as long as we are whole in our body and in our minds about our bodies, right? How are we doing that? And even when it's all janky, even when I couldn't walk, I was still trying to crickety put together. And even though I can't, do what I used to do, I still be trying to do stuff. And so we have to keep moving forward. I mean, we must. I implore us all to do it.
Absolutely. I hear you saying, keep moving forward, find the strength within, and connect what you're doing to something deeper, more of a purpose, so that can continue to be your guiding light in your day-to-day, right? Not even just in the work that you're doing, in your day-to-day. So important. And these are things that some of the things that we've talked about are things that are taught and, like you said, societal expectations, but some of the things are things that we are constantly on the journey to teach ourselves. And I'm glad that we're just in a space and we have the privilege to be able to have the time to think about these things, to pause, as you mentioned, and to be able to reframe things for ourselves and teach ourselves. So I just love this conversation. I obviously feel like I could talk to you forever and we could just keep going and going.
Same, same,
But I know you have
same.
work to do, people to impart your wisdom on. So I thank you so much, Dr. Adams, for spending time with us today. And if anybody wants to connect with you, get your book, let them know how they can take the next steps to be in your orbit.
Yeah, so find me on social. I'm at edlinguist, EDLINGUIST. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. And then for your listeners, I'm gonna give you a link for a free audiobook so people can download it and check it out if they're really interested.
Yay, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're
I
so
know they're
welcome.
going to be interested. After everything we chatted about and just your warm and welcoming and amazing spirit, like just keep being you and keep shining because we appreciate you. Oh, this was great.
Thank you so much.
Of
Oh,
course, of course. I hope you guys have enjoyed all of this goodness that Dr. Adams was able to share with us today. And as always, keep doing your thing, keep shining, and be well.